Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Bible Study. We're glad that you are with us, and I'm sorry that I was a few minutes late. Fred, you won't understand this, but Chris, you might. I was stuck at Ninoy Aquino International Airport. I made a mistake and got on the service road for the SLEX. It took me 5 hours to go 5 kilometers.
Why did you take service road?
I made a mistake.
Oh, okay.
You know how you go by the service road to get on the highway?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the service road, I turned too quick, and then I'm all of a sudden I'm stuck on the service road and I can't get off. I didn't do it on purpose. All right, everybody. Book of First John. Let's open to First John. Chris, verse 15, please.
Book of First John.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's the word of life. That which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we looked upon and have touched with our hands, concerning the world of life.
Okay. So what sin might hate be equivalent to? Chris?
What was the question? What sin?
What sin is hatred equivalent to? If you hate your brother, you are guilty of what?
Sin of the eyes.
Okay. That very well could be lust of the flesh. It could be
Lust of eyes.
Yeah. Could
There
also
were
be
three.
could also be murder, right?
Yes.
We can find that in Matthew chapter 5, verse 22. Matthew chapter 5, verse 22. Giselle? Chapter 5. Actually, give me 21 and 22, Giselle.
21. You have heard that it is said to be, this one you shall not murder, whoever murder.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 21, 22. You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insult his brother will be liable to the council, and whoever say, you fool, will be liable to the hell of fire.
So, how should we behave towards our brethren? Giselle?
We should love our brother. Don't say anything bad words to your brother because you will go to the hell, sir.
Is that easy to do?
No, sir, it's not easy. But you have to be patient and you have to control yourself if you are angry.
It takes a little while sometimes to develop patience, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Mike, how about First John chapter 3, verse 16, please?
First John verse 3, chapter 3, verse 16. 16?
Yes, please.
By this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. Yeah.
So now, not only are we supposed to not hate our brothers, but what does verse 16 tell us? What does verse 16 tell us, Anna?
It tells us that Jesus sacrifices lives for us to be able to save.
Okay, and how does that see we're supposed to behave?
And that's why we need to love our brothers, because if you love your brothers, you are with God.
Do you see where it says we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers?
Yes.
Okay, much the same as Jesus Christ laid down his life for us. We should lay down, put aside our pride and our self-interest in order to help other people to attain the things that they need and want out of life, right? Verse 17, Mark. Joseph.
Verse 17. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him?
So there you go. There's a question that goes with that. And the question is, how then should we show our love according to 1 John chapter 3, verse 17? Joseph,
Yes, sir.
how do we show our love?
Offer a gift.
Offer a gift, right? When we see people in need, should we help them?
Yes.
Help
Do
them.
we always?
Not always.
You're muted, Giselle.
Not always, sir, but if you have extra money, or if there is a problem about the family problem, you can give him advice, sir.
Okay. Verse 18, please, Beth.
First John chapter 3 verse 18. Little children, let us not love in him. Little children, let us not love in the inward or talk, but in deed and in truth.
Wow. Now, this is an easy question to answer. How are we supposed to love? Do you know anybody who talks a big game, but when it's time to do it, they don't do very much? Do you know anybody like that? Vanessa,
Sir, some people are like that.
are they? Marvin?
Of course, I knew someone. I mean,
Yeah.
I know someone who's like that.
You do know someone like that?
Mhm.
Larissa?
Yes, sir.
You know somebody?
Mm.
Chris?
Yeah.
Do you know somebody who talks a big game, but then you can't count on them?
Yeah.
Is that how we're supposed to behave according to 1 John chapter 3?
No.
No. Okay. 1 John chapter 3, verse 19, please, Miss Wilma.
You can actually pull up a little bit over there.
Verse 19, by this we shall know that we are of the truth and reassure our hearts before him.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So, what assurance do we have if we do practice love?
Okay, thank you.
Because we are in the right path and in Christ, so that is one of the assurance that our heart is true.
Okay. Phone a friend.
Marvin,
What was the question again, sir?
The question is, what is the contrast that we see in verse 18? And what does it tell us about love?
Okay. So it says here, we have to be the doers of the word, not just the hearers.
Okay. Verse 19, Larissa.
Sir, 20,
Okay, 20.
verse 20. For whenever our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart, and he knows everything.
And 21, Vanessa.
And verse 21, Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us, we have confidence before God.
What are the consequences? What is the result if our heart does condemn us? Larissa?
Circle of friend.
Okay.
Marvin.
Call
Are
on
we?
Call on Chris.
No.
One of the things, go ahead, Chris.
No.
Okay. One of the things I want us to be aware of, if we are trying to live the life that Christ has called us to, if we are trying to set an example for the rest of the world, are we yet perfect? We know
No.
that's not true. If you say you are without sin, you are a liar and the truth is not in you. But if our goal is perfection, sometimes we can be our own worst critics. God makes us a promise here in 1 John chapter 3, verse 20. And what we see in verse 20 is that if our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart. And he knows what we are really trying to do. We might be our own worst critic. We might condemn ourselves, but God knows what we're trying to do. And he will bless us for how we're trying to be, even if we fail from time to time. Verse 21, what if our heart does not condemn us? What if our heart does not condemn us? Vanessa?
Sir, we have to be love one another with, of course, the unconditional love as God do with us.
Did you get that from verse 21?
Yes, sir. And beloved, if your heart does not condemn us, we have confidence before God.
If our heart does not condemn us, if we know that we have a good heart and we're trying to do right, we can have confidence before God, right? 1 John chapter 3, verse 22, please, Marvin.
First John chapter 3, verse 22 says, and whatever we ask, we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do what pleases him.
Okay. What must we do if God is going to answer our prayers? Marvin?
We have to abide him.
Chris?
Offer. Make an offer.
Okay. But offering, we want to be careful here. Should we give money? Yes, but is the offering we give to God restricted to money?
No.
No, it's our life, right? It's the life that we live. Is part of that making a financial offering? Sure, part of that is, but giving our life is the real value. Giving our life of service is what really counts. And that's what we need to do, is we need to make sure that we do make an offering, not of money, but of our lives, and God will answer our prayers. Verse 22, Fred, are you with us? You're muted, brother.
I'm driving, so I just have to be in the background.
Oh, not a problem. Okay. Chris, verse 22.
And whatever we ask, we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do what pleases him.
Okay. Verse 20.
So,
Actually, go ahead.
I have a question. Yeah. So it means that whatever we ask from him, as long as we keep his commandments and do what pleases him, he always granted.
That's not exactly what it means. Let me explain. You have a child, right? We are the children of God, correct?
Yes.
If your child really pleased you and they were doing all of the things you asked them to do, and they ask you to give them a bottle of arsenic to drink, would you do it?
Right. No.
Is it possible that we might ask God for things that are to our detriment?
Yes.
Not for our betterment? Yes. Is God a loving Father? Yes. Will he give us those things if they're not to our benefit?
No.
But we ask for them, and if he's going to answer all of our prayers, then he has to give us the stuff, whether it's good for us or it's not. No, that's not how that works. God has three answers to prayers. They are yes, no, and
not right now.
Not right now. If you, and one of the things that people have a tendency to ask for is financial success. Would you believe me if I said that for most people, and for a lot of people anyways, having financial success does not increase your closeness to God?
Yes.
It does not. It makes you further from God for most people. For some people, it makes it, they can continue to walk even though they have had great financial success. But financial success is not always for our benefit. There's a statistic that's in the States that 85% of the people who hit the lottery are dead broke 5 years later. Now just think about what I said. You won 10 million US dollars in the lottery, and you spent all of the money in 5 years. What did you do with that money? And was that really a benefit in their life? There was a guy, I read a newspaper article several years ago. He had fulfilled the odds on the 5th anniversary of him winning $8 million. He was dead broke. And somebody asked him for the interview for a newspaper, what did you do with the money? And he stated that he spent most of the money in stripper bars and on drugs. Was that money a benefit to his life? No. Would he have been better off if this was an answer to a prayer? Would he have been better off if God had said no? When scripture tells us to whom much has been given, much will be required. The more education, the higher social status, the more money that you have, the more difficult it is to remain faithful. And an example of this would be Solomon. When Solomon first became king, God appeared to him in a vision. And God asked him, do you want to have a long life, or would you prefer to have great riches? And what he asked for instead was wisdom from God so that he might guide his people, God's people, that is. At the end of his life, he left God because his foreign wives had turned his heart from God and into other things. Great wealth, like Solomon had, gives you access to more sin. It often is not something that makes it where you can continue to walk closely with God. 1 John chapter 3, verse 24. 1 John chapter 3, verse 24, and we'll end it with this one. Giselle? Oh, you just read. Anna, 1 John chapter 3, verse 24.
1 John chapter 3 verse 24 says, whoever keeps his commandments abides in God, and God in him. And by this we know that he abides in us, by the Spirit whom he has given us.
Whoever does what? Keeps his commandments. What specific commands must we obey?
The commandments of God, sir.
Which one? Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Love your brothers.
Thou shalt not murder.
Love one another, I mean, sir.
You shall not lust after your neighbor's horse.
The New Testament.
Correct. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Chris, hold on just a second, please.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.